Morning guys, so I'm just about to head over to PiliPili, which is a bar in Kigali. The owner, Rudy, has got a fleet of Royal Enfield bikes and he's selling them. Now I'm a bit of a baby biker. My friend Dominic over at Kigali Motorbike Rentals kind of taught me the basics, got me into it, and I went and got my UK bike test last year. And I'm kind of feeling like it's getting to a point where it's time to buy a bike of my own. And you know, we've been bike shopping before on this channel. I took you around some of the bike shops, we had a look at some of them. I was looking at the Haojin Evo, and then I recently tried out a Haoju Cyclone 250, which we went on a little bit of a bike ride up to Byumba on. And I have to say, I really did like that bike. I love the storage on it, and also it's a very modern bike, so it's got all of the mod cons like a USB charging cable and everything. It's a very comfortable bike, very low to the ground, so quite easy to maneuver. I've also been driving around quite a bit on the TVS 150, which is a lovely bike. I love it. It's a very light bike. You can kind of maneuver easily, get it in and out of my slightly sloping driveway without any problem. But at the same point, these are Royal Enfield, so they've got kind of a very historical attachment, especially for British people, because they're very iconic as a symbol of especially the Second World War, First World War. They were used to deliver messages on the front line, and my grandfather, apparently my dad told me when I said I was looking at Royal Enfields, he said, oh yeah, your grandfather was a messenger delivery in the Middle East, and he rode around on the original, the OG Royal Enfields. So there's a little bit of a nostalgic connection there. I popped over there yesterday just to take a look at them, and I took one for a little test drive, but only around the block, like a 5-minute test drive, and I didn't really feel that was quite enough to know whether or not I would enjoy this on a day-to-day basis. So Rudy has very, very kindly agreed to let me borrow a bike for a couple of days, try it out, see how I feel about it. So I was going to go over a little bit later on today, about 11 o'clock, but the weather forecast says that we're going to have big thunderstorms and lots of lightning this afternoon. Don't think that's ideal test drive conditions, especially on a motorbike. So I'm going to head over there a little bit earlier, pick one up, and we're going to take it on exactly the same test run that we took the Cyclone. And you know, when I first got the Cyclone, I was a bit nervous. I'm always nervous before I get on a new bike that I haven't driven before. I'm always a bit sort of, ooh. But within, I don't know, 20 minutes of driving that Cyclone, I loved it. So if I feel the same way about the Enfield, then I think it's going to be the Enfield. But if I feel like I'm not enjoying it so much, then maybe I need to rethink. So let's go and try it out.
PiliPili is kind of an institution in Rwanda. It's been here since 2012, though most people will swear that it's been here longer. It's one of those strange places that feels like it's always existed. It's got beautiful views, a lovely pool, and is an all-round fantastic place to chill out. Incidentally, it's where I first met my friend Maya. And here's the bike. We had to blag some petrol for it from a taxi, but we got it up and running. I drove it down the hill and pulled up to take a closer look.
Hi guys, so I've just pulled up near my home. I've driven it down the road from PiliPili. We're getting on quite well. I've got a big smile on my face, which is a good start. But my goodness, is it different to any of the other bikes I've ridden. You feel it's like sitting on top of a massage chair. It's like a bit of a vibration. Not in that way. But it's kind of, yeah, it's very, very different. You definitely feel like you are driving a machine. So I'm just gonna pop back on and we're gonna take it out to Bugesera and see how we go. The only thing that's kind of stumped me a little bit is that the neutral light doesn't seem to be working. So I'm not too sure if I'm in neutral till I let the clutch out. But yeah, let's go and take it for a bit more of a spin.
Next, I drove over to Christel's petrol station to put some more fuel in it, attach the camera, and check that the lights were working.
So something that I'm discovering with the lights that's a bit different is usually you flick your lights and then you push it in the middle to stop it. But with this, you flick your lights, that brings on the indicator, and then it flicks back to the middle, and then you have to push it. And it still hasn't fully turned it off, so you really have to work to turn the lights off, the indicators off. So flashing, back to the middle, and push it really far in, which is quite a lot of effort, but yeah. Then you've got the headlight has three. It's got far right, which is off, middle, which gives you these little lights at the front, and far left, and you give that a second, and that gives you, that gave me the headlights a minute ago, but it hasn't come on this time, so don't know. Oh, there we go. It takes a minute, it just takes a minute. So maybe it comes on faster when the bike's actually moving. Interesting to know.
So, let's get on the road. Just listen to that engine. I believe it's called a thumper when it sounds like that. A long-stroke, single-cylinder engine. There's a heck of a drainage ditch getting in and out of this place. Right, we've done this ride before in better weather, so I'm just going to speed things along a bit. We're taking a 30-minute ride south towards Bugesera. When I did this on the Cyclone, I discovered what looked like the remains of a petrol station, which was a perfect place to pull over and discuss the ride. In the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about the beloved Royal Enfield. The story of Royal Enfield begins with the Enfield Cycle Company, which started manufacturing bicycle parts in 1882. They were based in Worcestershire, England. And yes, that is where the source comes from. In 1890, they were granted a royal warrant to supply firearms to the military, which is where the Royal in Royal Enfield would later come from. The company originally began manufacturing motorised bicycles, the original e-bike. But by 1901, under the name Royal Enfield, they started to build motorbikes. Thus began a long tradition of military involvement. Whilst Royal Enfield rifles went to the army, Royal Enfield bikes provided quick and durable transport for delivery messengers on the front lines. The bikes were recognised for their ability to cope with difficult terrain and their longevity, an emblem of the days when Britain was actually pretty good at making stuff. Between the two world wars, they took time out to develop the Royal Enfield Bullet in 1931, a symbol of British motorcycling culture and working class spirit, which now holds the title of longest lived motorcycle design in history. I suppose, when you find perfection, why change it? After many years of competition from Asia and a dwindling home market, Royal Enfield closed its gates for the last time in 1971. And that would have been the end of the story, if it weren't for India. Back in 1955, over a decade before the factory closed, they struck up a partnership with Madras Motors in Chennai to form Enfield India. They produced a line of bikes in dark red and marketed them in America as Indian motorcycles. This rebrand didn't really catch on, and they soon switched back to calling them Royal Enfield. But that earlier collaboration was probably what saved the brand. In 1994, more than 20 years after Royal Enfield shut up shop in the UK, Indian motorcycle company Eicher Motors bought the rights to start production in Chennai, former Madras, where they are still manufactured to this day. The bike that I'm riding is the 2019 Royal Enfield Classic 500. It was built in India, but I'm certain my grandfather would have had no trouble recognising it. The shape of the tank, the seats and the headlights are completely iconic. Royal Enfield is still very popular in the UK, India and further afield. It's a nostalgic throwback to a bygone age, but still very capable of running on modern roads, and still with that reputation for indestructibility. They're not the fastest bikes, but they are very reliable. And I am definitely enjoying riding this one. Right, here's my favourite little pullover. Last time we were here, a lady came over to make a request. This time, 2 security guards appeared, one carrying a very large gun. They wanted to know what I was doing, and another very long conversation ensued where I tried to explain that I was thinking of buying a bike and I'd come to try it out. I am fascinated by this place. What is on the other side of that wall? Why is it so heavily guarded? What could possibly warrant so much attention for someone riding a bike around an empty parking lot? It was very strange indeed. Or maybe there isn't anything on the other side of that wall, and the guards were just extremely bored. Maybe I was the most interesting thing they'd seen all day. Place your bets, and at the end of the video I'll take a look on Google Maps and find out what all the fuss was about. Anyway, I had fun testing it out.
I've just pulled over in my favourite abandoned petrol station. I think it was once a petrol station. Just me and a dog here at the moment. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it definitely has a bit of shake, rattle and roll. But like not in a bag way. You really know that you're driving something. Rather than just floating along the road. I'm feeling a little bit of like a hand sort of, not cramp, but I can definitely feel I've been using my hand. I feel like when you're going, you're really keeping your hand on the throttle. I think because it's quite a lump of metal, and I've realised it gets up to speed pretty quickly, but then it also reduces speed pretty quickly because it is quite heavy. Actually, it's not as heavy as I originally thought it was. I was a bit worried yesterday that it would be too heavy, but it isn't, but it's solid. And so that solidness kind of really kicks in when you let up on the throttle. So that's the only question I have about it, is whether or not it will be as comfortable as I'd like it to be if I'm going on a long journey. So if I'm going to go 3.5 hours up to Kigali, am I going to feel that 3.5 hours? I've only done about, I don't know how long I've done, like 30-40 minutes to come out of town. We're going to go back in. So far it handles okay in the crazy Kigali traffic. I feel like it responds well. The only thing is it doesn't always show the neutral. And because it's that British system, it's neutrals in the middle of 1 and 2, or the normal system I should say, for most bikes in most countries. You're not entirely sure. You're not entirely sure if you're in neutral ever. And I was complaining about the Cyclone because with the Cyclone I couldn't get it into neutral. It would go into one, it would go into two, but it would just flip over neutral like that, and I was getting so frustrated with it because it's like every time I stopped it was like another 2-3 minutes of just trying to get into neutral, whereas with this I can't get out of neutral. Like if you flick up from one, you'd like it to go straight into two, but you're not. I'm hitting neutral and it's not always telling me that, so I'm sort of, you really have to give it a push to get it up to two. So yeah, it's like the opposite problem with the Cyclone, but it's not bad. I don't know. I mean, I'm grinning. I'm having a lovely time today. I'm having a great time driving around on it. I think I need a little bit more time to decide. I'm going to go home soon because it looks like the rain might be coming. We've been very lucky. It was supposed to be pouring it down by now, but it isn't. So I'm just going to take it home and see if I can get it in and out of my drive, which is a major issue for me because my drive isn't in great condition. It's not getting it in is fine, it's getting it out. To get it out you have to walk it back a little bit, and there's a bit of a pothole, and oh, it's just a thing. So yeah, I'm going to go and do that, but I'm having a lovely time with it. Yeah, it's actually not a difficult bike to drive from my very limited experience.
Then it was time to ride home.
But it's a good looking bike. Even though it's got some scratches and bruises, it's still extremely photogenic. Hello, Howard. You okay, baby boy? What you doing? You come and say hello. Hi guys, I've just got home, sitting under my mango tree. The bike looks very good in the driveway. Like I said, it's easy to get bikes in here. It's a little more tricky to get them out again. So we'll see how that goes, probably tomorrow. I love it. It's been really lovely. Yeah, I was just driving back into Kigali, and even with all the traffic, I just had this big kind of grin on my face. I do like it a lot. It's not too bad not knowing what gear you're in, because this bike can handle pretty much anything in almost any gear. So it doesn't seem to be such a problem. You can feel it when it needs to change, you can feel it, you know. So it's not as difficult as I thought. Sorry, this is my life at the moment. My neighbours are building something. Hold on a minute.
12 seconds later.
At least they don't start too early in the morning.
3 weeks later.
There we go. No.
Later.
So, this is my day every day now.
Six months later.
I've actually forgotten what I was saying. Doesn't matter. Welcome to Kigali, where everybody's building all of the time. It's just insane. It's like permanently living in a dentist's office.
Eventually,
So yeah, I drove back without my gloves on, and it was a little easier to hold the throttle without the gloves, but at the same point, you still really felt it by the time you got back into Kigali. So I kind of feel like on a really long ride that might be a problem, but I was concerned about the weight as well, and my friend Dom said, you know, you'll get used to it. And I think it might be the same with the throttle, is I think my hand might get used to it. It's one of those risks you'd have to take. But yeah, the thing about the going into neutral so easily, it is a bit annoying, because like you just want to go from first to second, but that really likes to go through neutral on the way and stick in it. But I find that less annoying than not being able to find the neutral. Not being able to find the neutral, like having to stop and go clickety, 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 click on the Cyclone for ages. That I find more annoying than passing through neutral to get your gears correct. Although I think that might be a problem off-road, because when you're off-road, you don't always have as much time to think about first, second transition. You know, you need to think a bit faster. and if I have to get caught in neutral on the way, it might be a little bit annoying, but I mean, it'll be a slow speed, so we'll see. I don't know. I am liking it. I like the height, and I tell you, going around, it was only a wide corner that I went round. There weren't any sort of twisty Byumba turns, but it took them so easily. It was almost like you weren't going around a corner. It was just like, let's just turn. So you can see I've got a smile on my face. I've had a lovely afternoon, and the weather's been fantastic. It said it was going to be thunder, lightning, the end of the world, and we haven't had that at all, so it's been absolutely lovely. Yeah, I think I'm crawling towards a decision here. I need to go and have a cup of tea and have a think about it. Yeah.
So it turns out that place I pulled over at was indeed a Kobar petrol station once upon a time. Here's the view from above, and I've drawn a white line where I think the wall is. So it's probably just a storage facility of some kind, industrial supplies or something. But a bit further up the road, I found the strangest clouds in existence. Just a glitch in the matrix, or a portal to another dimension? I'll leave that up to someone else to investigate.